Okay, so you're noticing aging of the eyes. Now you're on retinols because you know it's the GOAT of skincare, greatest of all time. You see what it does for your face. Maybe you're applying it around the eyes and you're wondering, is this safe? Because what are you seeing around the eyes likely? Maybe a bit of redness of the skin, especially if you're lighter skin color. Thinning of the skin, wrinkling on the lids, fat pad loss, tear trough, and hollowing behind the eye. No matter what you do with the facelift or pulling the skin, when your eyes get kind of set back and you get hollows up there, we use a lot of filler sometimes because it just says age. It's kind of like a temple. But is your retinol, is your skincare actually aging your eye? That's what I'm talking about in this bottom line video today. Let's dive in. Oh, and let's talk a little bit about meibomian gland dysfunction or dry eye from retinols, because I know a lot of you have been told that. Let's have a quick hit of copy here. A little Tim Hortons whole bean ground, nothing like that. So let's go with the meibomian gland dysfunction, the dry eye. Let's tackle that first. So meibomian glands are those on the lid, the upper and lower tarsal pads, and they produce a lipid layer that goes on the eye every time you blink. So if you blink real strong and you let go, it kind of relieves the eyes. That's not from pressure, that's from the lipids and that tear film that's produced from the meibomian glands. The thing is, you get so many of them, meaning you can't just make more. Look here, there has been no evidence that non-visible or atrophied, meaning shrunk down, human meibomian glands can be reactivated as regrowth after vector pulsation treatment. So they're very, very precious. And a lot of people say, well, the retinols or retinoics kill those, and so then you're gonna have dry eye for life. It's kind of scary. So that has many causes, and retinols have been thought to cause that problem. Here's a picture here of the meibomian gland on the lid, so you can see they play a vital role. But does retinol or retinaldehyde or retinoic acid actually kill them? Well, there's 0 trials in humans to back this up. There is a trial here, however, that I want to look at with you, because there is some evidence that they used in this trial Accutane, which is very strong, that it does cause or have some negative influences on the eye milieu, particularly the meibomian gland. Let's look at that first before we get into kind of the aging around the eye. Let's look at that trial. So here's one study that everyone kind of talks about, the influence of 13-cis-retinoic acid, basically Accutane, on human meibomian gland epithelial cells. And here's what they found. The retinoic acid inhibited cell proliferation, induced cell death, and significantly altered the expression of these 6726 genes, including those involved in cell proliferation and death and differentiation, keratinization, which is very important in MGD or meibomian gland disease, and inflammation in human meibomian gland epithelial cells. All bad stuff. Here's one thing about the study is they used a very potent retin-A. So they used immortalized human meibomian gland epithelial cells. That's a cell line. It's not a trial in humans, but a cell line in culture. You can buy those cells for about $6,000 and then do the studies. So this is not a human trial, and to extrapolate that to clinical evidence would be a stretch. I'm going to share with you clinical evidence because this is what I do every day in clinic. So what do I see in real life? Okay, so that's the study on meibomian glands. Before I tell you what I see in real practice, let's talk about aging for a moment, because that's exactly why you're watching this video. You're putting the retinols around the eye for anti-aging properties, increasing cell turnover, fine lines, maybe to help with reds, to tighten the skin, to lift the lid. That's probably the number one reason you're trying to lift the lid above the eye. So do you tolerate it? Well, here's the thing. 80% of my patients tolerate using retinols around the eye without problems. And we looked at that trial. I think there's a percentage of people, call it 20% of my practice, who can't use it for dry eye because they're getting redness, irritation. What does inflammation and irritation lead to? Inflammation, inflammaging, and aging. You do not want chronic inflammation. And yes, that same inflammation around the eye will definitely kill the fat pads, lead to hollows above and below the eye, and accentuate that tear trough. And keep in mind, the prostaglandins that you're going to find in many lash serums also have been proven to kill the fat pads. So if there's irritation, inflammation, that's not a good thing. And as an aside, keep in mind, many of you out there have rosacea. And rosacea occurs on, in, and around the eye. So IPLs, we now use on the eye to treat rosacea of the eye. We put shields on the eye, and then we can use the IPL safely to treat the upper lids in the area around the eye. And this helps meibomian gland dysfunction and also the redness, and it will tighten the skin a little bit too. But understand, if you're in the 20% that get dry eye or irritation or redness, here's what you do. First of all, you stop the retinol, see if it gets better. That's somewhat obvious, but people love inflammation and tightening and they don't stop. So stop it. If you get better, you probably should not be on it, or better yet, reintroduce it when everything feels good and you're back to where you should be. You can reintroduce it judiciously. In mine, I use retinaldehyde. So it's kind of a timed release with a small dose of retinol and retinol palmitate. And there's avocado oil and vitamin C in mine, in my retinol A. So you want to use whatever you're using at home, you can dilute it, you can decrease the dose, you can decrease the frequency and slowly introduce it back. But some people just aren't going to tolerate it. There is no human trials to say that this is bad around the eye in clinical practice. Like I say, many people do tolerate it, but the percentage that don't. And those that are tolerating it, they do get benefits of tightening of the skin and the upper lid, and it's protective. And remember, you need sunscreen. Many of you don't use sunscreen around the eye because it irritates. Then you need sunglasses, but use it as close as you can. And of course, physical blockers of sun protection, because that's by far what's aging your eye, what's killing your meibomian glands, the photo damage, the keratinization around the eye that causes it. But keep this in mind. The number one cause of meibomian gland dysfunction is age. And then you go into the other causes. Being female, wearing contact lenses, sun exposure can cause it, certain medications can cause it, eye drops that have preservatives, if you're on those, come off of those. But those are by far more common causes of MGD or meibomian gland dysfunction. Now you're going to want to watch this video on how you can maintain your facial fat pads, and one down here on do retinols kill your facial fat pads. Stay tuned here. Keep your skin and body beautiful, healthy, and vibrant.